Alright, hey guys, Pax, welcome back to another Pokemon Pocket video, and in this video, we'll be going over the new variations of the bird trio that will be coming to the game in the new booster pack. Should be coming out in roughly 4 days from the time I am recording this video. So yeah, in case you guys don't know, we are getting the Team Rocket variations of Zapdos, Articuno, and Moltres. That's right, it's been quite a while since we've seen these guys. We saw them, of course, in Genetic Apex. It's been nearly 2 years since the original variations of the bird trio were released, and they went through a bit of a character arc. For one thing, most of them, of course, have fallen off. Articuno peaked with 18 Trainer Articuno, but then afterwards slowly fell off, especially with the addition of Lucario. Went into a major depression, and they finally came back. They got a job. Team Rocket was apparently hiring for their comeback, and here they are. So yeah, in this video, I'll compare the new with the old, comparing and contrasting both variations of the cards, as well as looking at current meta to see how both variations are / will be. If you guys are new to my channel, I highly suggest liking and subscribing. It would really help me out both mentally and physically, as I always say. Anyways, without further ado, let's get right into it. So before I get into the main portion of this video, the comparison portion, I just want to quickly go over some recent news that we got in regards to the new booster pack. If you guys are here strictly for the comparison portion, I'll leave timestamps in the description below, so if you want to just quickly skip to that. But we got a bit of news in regards to Team Rocket's ambition. Again, it's coming out on August 26th, 6 p.m. Pacific daytime. But recently, we've been getting a few more leaks, as well as a teaser for the new booster pack. So yeah, as you can see at 9 a.m. on August 21st, the official Pokemon TCG Pocket Twitter posted this message. We're aware of unintended interruption that took place during today's Pokemon TCG Pocket keynote. They're referring to the trailer, of course. The following message was left by the responsible group. If you have the information related to these Team Rocket superfans, please share and help us identify these involved. And we have a video right here. I'm just going to play it in its entirety and then give my takes on what this means and also what this implies. Because yeah, they got a very well-renowned DC supervillain to be the spokesperson for Team Rocket. They're really pulling all the strings for this. Anyways, here is a teaser.
We are devoted followers of Team Rocket. Their ambition inspired us, and the time has come for us to make our move. Today, we emerge from the shadows to set in motion a mission to take control of the Pokemon TCG Pocket app in their name. It only seems fair, given they're the stars of the upcoming expansion. Be on the lookout for more messages across Pokemon's social media channels to find out how you can help us achieve our mission. And know this, what you have seen so far is just the beginning. The countdown has begun.
So as you can see, they got Bane to be the spokesperson for the new booster pack for Team Rocket. Yes, Bane is coming to Pokemon Pocket. Huge hype. I'm looking for a Bane supporter card. That'll be the most random crossover ever, but hey, anything can happen nowadays. Like if you look at McDonald's, they recently are doing a One Piece SpongeBob collab. No one saw that coming, but I'm all for it, you know? So yeah, this kind of reminds me of the teasers for Fantastical Parade, because keep in mind, earlier this month, they did a bit of cryptic teasers like this, where the community had to solve cryptic puzzles in order to get hints for the upcoming booster pack, which was, of course, Fantastical Parade. Granted, it was only for Japan, because the puzzles were specifically for the Japanese population in terms of like the kanji and like the language. So Twitter helped out a lot with that. Again, like this was like the 2000s, we would have never known. But so since the world was so interconnected, it was pretty much like a kind of a group effort in a sense. Yeah, pretty cool to see. They're definitely going to do more of these teasers before the pack releases. And again, it comes out like relatively soon from now, but still, I mean, it's cool to see these teasers. In my opinion, they should have started releasing this like 2 weeks in advance, you know, like that kind of generate hype. In addition to the teasers on Twitter, the Pokemon Company International have also announced a special pop-up in Potter's Field, London, from August 22nd to the 23rd. And as you can see, they are doing this to commemorate the launch of the new booster pack. So here's the image right here. If you're in London, then yeah, have fun here. I don't know what the rewards are, but most likely maybe some pack points. Imagine like you get like a free like Professor Oak somehow. A full art Professor Oak trading card would go insane. Collectors, scalpers will go crazy trying to get that. But yeah, if you're in London, stop by here. If you're not in London, you can still come by, but I don't know if it's going to be worth it, especially if you're going to London just to see this stand, this kiosk. Bane is coming. Let me look down the comments. Yeah, it's time to go mobile. Oh my gosh. We haven't seen General Grievous in a while. I mean, I know he's dead in the Star Wars universe, but who knows? They could bring it back. Star Wars collab with Pokemon. Imagine that, man. And in regards to the new cards, we got a few more leaks these past few days. So first of all, this is going down the list. A promo card Lapras, nice. Second promo card, looking very bothered. He doesn't like you. Yeah, he's having a very bad day. What else do we have? We got Fennekin. Nice, nice. So in this booster pack, we will get a Delphox card. If it's going to be an EX or non-EX, only time will tell. We already have a fire type EX, of course, Moltres EX. So don't get me wrong, I prefer an EX version, but there have been very strong non-EXs in the past. So ability once during your turn. When you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, you may move a random energy from your opponent's active Pokemon to this Pokemon. So guaranteed disruption, essentially discarding your opponent's energy, utilizing it for yourself. A decent amount of chip damage as well. This Pokemon essentially only requires one energy to start attacking. Main issue, of course, is that it is rather frail. HP 120. Weak to fighting types, so Mega Lucario will just absolutely incinerate. We also have Pikachu right here. Poison Jab, 20 damage. Opponent's active Pokemon is now poisoned. Very similar to the original Pikachu card. Came out in Genetic Apex, requires 2 energy. Flip a coin. If heads, your opponent's active Pokemon is now paralyzed. So paralysis, far better than poison, but still not too bad, I guess, especially towards the early game. We also have Weezing EX, HP 140, stage 1, of course. Ability once during your turn. When you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, you may make your opponent's active Pokemon poisoned and burned. So doing 30 damage at the end of your turn, essentially. And then your opponent coin flips. If they get heads, burn damage is removed. If they get tails, it stays, doing 30 damage. Pairing this with Nihilego, 50 damage each Pokemon checkup. So insane, especially pairing that with Confusion Gas. Only does 60, requires 2 Darkness Energy. After attacking, your opponent's active Pokemon is now confused. So a lot of confusion effects. Depending on how meta Weezing will be, I wouldn't be surprised if PC Lady sees more prominence. But even then, I mean, we have Teal'c Ogerpon, Comfey as well, so there's a lot of counters to status conditions, but overall not too bad. I feel like Darkness excels with chip damage as well as disruption. So looking at other cards, we have Team Rocket's Kecleon. Once during your turn, you may look at one of your opponent's card in hand, chosen at random, so you just get a little glimpse. That's cool, I guess. Hide and Seek, 40 damage, requires 2 colorless energy. Flip a coin. If heads during your opponent's next turn, prevent all damage from and effects of attacks done to this Pokemon. Not really too impressive. I doubt this guy will see much play, but I mean, you get to look, I guess. This guy is like Looker, but as a Pokemon card. You be looking. We also got Meowth. Makes sense since we are getting Persian as well. So yeah, Scratch. 1 energy, 30 damage. Not too bad. I mean, very much could be a counter to baby Pokemon, able to one-shot all of them, majority of them aside from Munchlax. Bro is a tanky boy. And lastly, we got this 2-star gold card of Team Rocket's Master Plan. And yeah, that's pretty much all the leaks. There's also the upcoming missions. Should be a similar format as previous months, but yeah, I'm just going to briefly just go over it. You guys can just pause the video if you want, but yeah, here it is. If anything, I'll leave the link to this article in the description. Once again, a huge thanks to Pokemon Zone for compiling all this information. As always, if you get more information in regards to leaks or teasers, I'll definitely make a video about that. I highly suggest liking and subscribing. But yeah, anyways, into the main portion of this video, comparing the old to the new. So first of all, we'll be looking at Articuno. So on the left, we have the new Articuno. On the right, we have the old Articuno. So as you can see, the old Articuno is slightly tankier, has 10 more HP, still rather frail. Both of them are still rather frail in my opinion. Both Pokemon can attack your second turn going second if you lead with Mantike. Mantike is an amazing water type support. By your second turn, you should have 3 energy already. Another decent pairing is Mega Sharpedo, more so for the old Articuno than the new one. I'll go over why once we start talking about the new Articuno card. But yeah, looking at both cards, they both have Ice Wing, very much a copy paste of the attack. New Articuno has Hailstorm, while the old Articuno has Blizzard. Blizzard does decent active damage as well as chip damage to the bench. Perfect setup for Cyrus, so you could attack doing 10 damage onto the bench. Your next turn you could Cyrus, potentially hard targeting your opponent's Mega EX. So perfect setup. Hailstorm does a lot active damage, however chips your bench Pokemon. So kind of an inverse to Blizzard. So as I mentioned, yeah, Blizzard is a perfect setup for Cyrus. To Cyrus your opponent's bench Pokemon. Hailstorm is a perfect setup for your opponent to Cyrus your bench Pokemon. So yeah, kind of counterintuitive, can definitely lose the game. Especially if you are pairing the new Articuno with Mega Sharpedo. Your opponent could easily Cyrus Mega Sharpedo towards the late game and potentially win the game just like that. So new Articuno, in order to attack with Hailstorm, it requires 2 water, 1 colorless energy. So 3 energy in total, much like its genetic Apex counterpart. But the key difference, of course, looking at genetic Apex, is that it requires 3 water energy. So this is noteworthy, especially if they release a Team Rocket support that generates colorless energy, making it so that you can attack much faster, helping with ramp. So new Articuno is better towards the late game, especially if you have no bench Pokemon. Can't utilize the attack ability. Once again, as I mentioned before, you could pair it with Mega Sharpedo, but again, Sharpedo can be a huge liability. However, to counteract this, you could also run Soothing Shore, which essentially negates the damage done, healing 20 damage at the end of your turn. But the main issue with this is that the bench Pokemon has to have at least 1 water energy attached. Given Sharpedo, it isn't too bad, but if you're leading with something such as like Mantike, once you sub out that Mantike, you will have to feed it 1 energy so that it will get healed. So looking at the current meta, I feel like both Articunos would get steamrolled. I mean, it's kind of obvious with genetic Apex, not really seeing any meta prominence. I haven't seen Articuno in ranked for over a year at this point, so yeah. Also, again, given their HP, you want to run Giant Cape or Starting Plains just to give them a bit more HP. But even then, I mean, depending on the matchup, they can easily still get one-shotted by an EX or Mega EX. But even then, the current meta prioritizes highly on chip damage. So Pokemon such as Naniax Greninja, Hoopa EX, even I can't say that. Even Heliolisk. Yes, Heliolisk prioritizes on chipping the bench as well. So with that being said, you might want to run Protective Poncho on top with Giant Cape and Starting Plains. But at the same time, once again, Field Blower. Like, Field Blower is very prominent as well. So it's going to be very hard for these two to be viable in the current meta. Once again, could get one-shotted by Pokemon such as Mega Sceptile, Mega Lucario EX, Mega Blaziken, and even Mega Manectric. So yeah, it's pretty rough. Like, I feel like the main issue with these two cards is definitely the HP. Like, not to mention it'll take you a couple turns to get both of these Pokemon fed. But with that being said, if I had to pick which one is better, I'd say the new Articuno is slightly better. Again, not the best, but still slightly better. So yeah, it's amazing as a late game finisher if your opponent isn't able to take it out by then. Also, you could pair it with Naniax Greninja to do 150 to 170 damage each turn. But again, the main issue is that after attacking, Greninja gets damaged, so Soothing Shore is definitely a must run. On top with, yeah, as I mentioned, Starting Plains, Protective Poncho, and Giant Cape. So this looks like a mess, not gonna lie. Once again, I'll reiterate this towards the end of the video, but the Team Rocket cards will need to hard carry the legendary birds to be viable. Alright, so the next bird that we will be going over is the legendary fried chicken, Moltres EX. Old Moltres is the OG fire type energy support. If you guys ever played upon release, this guy was huge. Basically a must run if you are running Charizard EX. Amazing support. Granted, it is very RNG dependent, very unreliable. I had a game where I got tails 9 times in a row. So bro was just standing there trying to make work, trying to feed Charizard, but was ultimately ineffective and I ended up losing. So very annoying. You gotta love coin flips in general. Dina really loves pushing the coin flip agenda, but yeah, second attack does decent ship, but you most likely won't be using it for most of your games. Of course, you want to use this guy to support your bench Pokemon, feeding them, utilizing the first attack. This card is weak to lightning type, so cards such as Miraidon EX will have a field day beating up this legendary bird. Looking at the new Moltres, the first attack is the same energy support mechanic, but inverted. Instead of supporting your bench Pokemon, this guy supports itself. So yeah, each head grants 1 fire energy to this Moltres EX. But again, the issue stays the same. It's very unreliable. There's gonna be a lot of games where it'll take probably like 2 to 3 turns until this guy can fully attack, depending on RNG. Second attack, instead of requiring only 3 energy, it requires a whopping 4 energy. Granted, the last energy is colorless. So once again, adding an energy generation supporter card or Pokemon for the Team Rocket archetype would be very much appreciated. After attacking, you discard a fire energy from this Pokemon. Depending on your luck with Heat Charge, you might have to feed this guy consistently each turn in order to attack. Weakness is water type. I forgot to mention this, but just coming back to Articuno, Articuno has a weakness. As you saw from the screen, it was weak to metal type, whereas the old Articuno was weak to lightning. All the old legendary birds are weak to lightning. But yeah, so looking at the current meta, I feel like the new Moltres will see a bit more play. I mean, for one thing, the cool thing about fire type is that it has a lot of support. So Rainbow Cave, an amazing setup for Flame Patch. And also, as I mentioned, for the new Moltres, after attacking, you discard a fire type energy. You could use Flame Patch, attaching a fire energy onto Moltres, and then by then you can start feeding like your bench Pokemon if need be. And looking at the old Moltres, as I mentioned, when this game first came out, it was very meta prominent and amazing energy support. But nowadays, it's definitely fallen off. I mean, it's more beneficial to run Magby instead of Moltres. For one thing, I mean, Moltres is 2 points, and of course, Magby a lot more frail, but only 1 point, and much more consistent support. New Moltres, albeit RNG dependent, could apply some decent pressure onto your opponent because of course it's self-sustaining. So depending on RNG, you can get this guy out and attacking. Your second turn going second, getting a huge lead against your opponent. And then by then you can start feeding, let's say like a Blaziken in the bench, get them fully built. Once it gets knocked out, sub into Blaziken and then sweep your opponent just like that. But even then, again, the main issue for both of these birds is that they're very frail. So Vespiquen, Mega Lucario, even Shampoo can one-shot them getting a huge lead. So with that being said, again, running Giant Cape, starting planes would help out a bit. Not too much, but a little bit nevertheless. We haven't talked about Zapdos yet, but I feel like this bird might be the best bird out of the three. Because of how dominating fire type is, you can easily get this guy fed and attacking. So last but debatably not the least, we have Zapdos. Once again, left is the new one, right is the old one. Old Zapdos, of course, has 10 more HP, which is far more significant than the other birds because Zapdos is already much frailer compared to the other birds. Lucario will have a field day against both birds. It's gonna be a bloody massacre. So looking at old Zapdos, more RNG dependent, of course. First attack only requires 1 energy, does 20, decent ship, especially upon release. Second attack is coin flip dependent and can do a max of 200 damage if you get 4 heads. Equally so if you get 4 tails, you do 0. So yeah, it could definitely happen. You could pair Zapdos with Will, guaranteeing you to do at least 50 damage, but even then very unreliable, and of course it's weak to lightning type. Looking at the new Zapdos, first attack does twice the amount of damage as the old one, but requires 1 more energy. Second attack does decent damage to the active and decent chip to a damaged bench Pokemon. So yeah, given this, you're more than likely pairing the new Zapdos with non-EX Greninja, triggering the attack ability. Once again, Greninja stocks continue to increase, has been meta ever since upon release. And of course, it's weak to fighting type. With full damage buffs, Mega Lucario will hit for a max of 230 damage. So nearly twice the amount of this guy's HP. Just like that. A bit of an overkill, and looking at the current meta, both will definitely struggle. For one thing, I mean, Mega Lucario is very meta prominent. A lot of people pair Mega Lucario with Hitmontop, doing decent chip to the active as well as the bench. So with that being said, once again, Protective Poncho is a must run because without Protective Poncho, your opponent could easily chip Zapdos, Cyrus their next turn and do a ton of damage just like that. And again, starting planes as well, just to give a bit more HP. Once again, towards the late game, doesn't really matter too much, especially if your opponent has a fully built Mega Lucario. Bro does 160 fully built without trainer buffs like Arena, Karina, or non-EX Lucario, already doing 160 fully built, so there's no way this guy could survive. But again, as I mentioned, pairing this with Greninja, you can do 70 damage to your opponent's bench Pokemon. So pretty decent setup. So given this in 2 turns, you could potentially do 180 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. So yeah, going through a hypothetical, let's say you're leading with Zapdos EX, your opponent has a Mega EX in the bench. You have a non-EX Greninja on your bench. This turn, if you Water Shuriken the bench Mega, you're doing 70 damage onto it. Next turn, you could Cyrus, Water Shuriken yet again doing 20, then attacking with Thunderclaw doing 90, so 110 in that turn. So 110 plus 70 is 180. So yeah, this guy's the definition of potential, man, because on paper, you could hit like a truck, getting the win, but the main issue for one thing is that it is rather frail. Also, it requires 3 energy to attack, so it's gonna take you a while to build this guy up. This guy could win you the game just like that, and it's gonna be very satisfying if that happens. More likely than not, it probably won't happen. You need to get extremely good luck, and your opponent inversely has to get extremely bad luck. But yeah, looking at the current meta, I'd argue that the old Zapdos is actually better, primarily because of the second attack. The second attack, sure, it's very much RNG dependent, but you could potentially one-shot a Mega. It could potentially be your win condition. Granted, it is very unreliable, but comparing it to the new Zapdos, I feel like the new Zapdos is strong. If it can survive 2 to 3 turns into active, which most likely won't happen, you could pair it with Zeraora to generate a free lightning type energy your first turn, and then your next turn elemental switch. If you go second, your second turn going second, this guy should be out and attacking. Once again, you could pair this bird with Pichu, but very risky. Once again, if Pichu gets knocked out, Zapdos would become a huge liability, so you want to win as fast as possible. And it's very hard to do so since this guy requires a lot of setup in order to fully utilize its potential. Whereas the old Zapdos, sure, RNG dependent, but once he's out, he's out. You know, like this guy can either win you the game or do jack shit. You gotta love coin flips in this game. There's been a lot of times where my opponent would get 4 heads in a row healing over 100 HP with Lucky Ice Pop. So anything can happen, man. Anything can happen. And even then, I mean, 3 heads could also one-shot a lot of very meta-prominent EXs, such as Vespiquen EX, Darkrai EX, and Hoopa EX, so You get a lot of value just like that. But even then, there are far better alternatives. I mean, for one thing, Heelisk, Mega Manectric, a lot more faster pace, easier to build up, and you can get a ton of value with Manectric towards the middle to late game. Whereas Zapdos with 3 energy just feels so awkward to run. So yeah, in conclusion, the new cards will only see meta prominence depending on how good the trainer cards supporting them will be. You better see some energy support if anything. HP boost as well, and even damage boost will be pretty nice, but if anything, HP boost and energy support are a must. To summarize what I said, old Articuno versus new Articuno is better. We might see the comeback of 18 trainer Articuno, or if anything, maybe 17 trainer. Might be beneficial to slip in a Mantike just to help with energy ramp. So 1 Mantike, 2 Team Rocket's Articuno EXs, and then looking at the Moltres' Moltres, new Moltres is obviously better. And when it comes to Zapdos, I feel like it is a lot more controversial in my take, but I still think that the old one is better. The new one, once again, gets a lot more potential, but requires a lot of setup, which I mean, I guess you could argue nowadays, like it's fairly easy to get set up depending on RNG, of course, but I mean, we have Copycat, Professor to help you out, but the HP is just way too low for Zapdos. Basically all these cards. For the old cards, it makes much more sense, especially since they're very old, but at this stage of the game, nearly 2 years later, and EX with 120 to 130 HP is kind of insane. Hydreigon's gonna absolutely dominate any of these birds. But yeah, that is the end of the video. Once again, hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you found this video informative as well as a bit entertaining. I tried to be. Once again, hopefully you guys enjoyed this commentary style format. I really like making these videos, for one thing, just like kind of yapping for like however long this is. I've been recording this specific portion for like 47 minutes. It's probably going to be much shorter than that, but yeah. Once again, liking and subscribing will help me out both mentally and physically, as I always say. As always, let me know what you guys think about my takes as well as these cards in the comments below. If you're watching this like a week in advance, still let me know what you guys think post-release. If you're from the future, once again, let me know. Are they good? Yes, no, please let me know. Did I ever get that theme park that I always wanted? I want to know. I'm very eager to know. But yeah, that's pretty much the video. Once again, hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys on my next one. Peace.